Okay, I think it's okay to go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to Tuesday of Global Explorers Week. Miss Laura is going to talk about South Africa today, which is pretty cool. She's got some cool stuff planned. I just put in the chat window here materials for today. So today is webinar style like we did last month. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to type them into the chat window, or you can use the Q&A question button at the bottom of your screen, whichever is easiest for you. I'm going to keep an eye on this, and I'll pop in from time to time to let Miss Laura know you have some questions. I think with that, I'm set. So Miss Laura, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to see all of your names. I wish I could see you, but I see your names. And I think everyone's been here before, which is also super exciting. So just a couple of reminders. We have lots of kids with lots of ages. So I'm going to give you some options, and you can decide which options work for you. I might go too fast in some places, or I might go slower than you're wanting to go in other places. So you can make your project maybe a little fancier while you wait, or you can catch up and like finish, for example, maybe you're decorating later or something like that. So I'll give you some options. Choose the ones that are right for you. Remember, if it's feeling frustrating, that's okay. Try again. And if it's still feeling frustrating, that's okay. You could try again a different day or just let it go. All right, so it's whatever, this is whatever's good for you. It's what's good for what we're doing here. So remember, we're gonna read a story, and then we're gonna do a craft, and then we're gonna finish with a little movement activity. I can't see or hear you, so use that chat. Miss Natalie, I'll check it for me. But you can see and hear me. And then we're going to record it, and you can go back and watch it again later if you want to. Let's see. My story today, so we're going to talk about South Africa, right, with our Global Explorers theme for the week. I'm super excited about talking about South Africa for lots of reasons. First of all, it's a super cool place, a very amazing country with lots of different cultures, cultural like encounters, people of different cultures together in the same places. But also my husband's family is South African. His mommy grew up there. She lives in Texas now, but she grew up in South Africa, and all of his family is there. And I got to go spend the month there. So I'll tell you some things about it. Our story today is a little bit long. We're going to read How Giraffe Became So Tall. This is a folk story, a South African folk story. Actually, I think it's an African folk story told in a South African style. So we're going to read that. We're going to make some giraffes today. This is the giraffe that Nathan made this morning. Here's my giraffe before he gets his legs and neck. So I'll show you how to make that. And then we'll finish with our movement thing. If you need to go gather some of your craft supplies, we'll do that in just a second. Also, my story is a little bit long, so if you want to color while you're listening to help your wiggles, or if you want to go get a softie to help your wiggles, now's the time to do that. If you don't need to go gather any of those things, I'm going to show you a couple of things, and then I'll let you know when we're ready to start and everybody back together. So if you need to go grab things, do it now, but I'm going to keep talking for those who don't. You can kind of see here, this is a globe. This is the back of a book, a travel book for when we went to South Africa a long time ago now. If you can imagine, this is a globe, right? This is the continent of Africa. Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent with lots of countries in there. South Africa is on the very tip. Okay, so this is the bottom of this picture, right? So here's South Africa. It's on the very tip. It's this, you can go to the southernmost part of the African continent in South Africa. The other cool thing is that there are two countries that are inside of the South African borders, Lesotho and Swaziland. Swaziland's over here and Lesotho is here, which is a little bit unusual for how we're used to things being here in the United States, right? Other parts of the world, those countries can be inside countries more commonly. So we're not going to talk about Lesotho and Swaziland today. We're going to talk about South Africa. So that's where we are. If you are gathering things, get ready to come back in just another couple of seconds. One of the most popular things for tourists to do in South Africa is to go on safari. And going on safari means you hop in a truck, or sometimes you hop in a plane or a helicopter, like a Jeep kind of truck, right, with the sides open. Sometimes it means you go walking with a guide, but you go on safari. So you go out into nature, you go out into the bush and see what animals you can see. South Africa has amazing, amazing wildlife. This is a whole book about all of the things you might see if you go on safari. They have lions, leopards, it's leopards, elephants, giraffes, all kinds of deer, things like that. So I wrote in my little book here the date that we saw the different things that we saw. I didn't always have my book with me, sometimes we just saw. So there is a super cool website where you can go with different guides in different parts of South Africa on safari. So I'm going to ask Miss Natalie to post that link for you. Make sure you check with your parents about it though, because it's live and wild animals do all kinds of things, right? So sometimes the things that wild animals do are things that might make us feel scared or uncomfortable, like they fight, or they have babies, or they do all kinds of things. They have to eat, right? And wild animals, most of them are carnivores. So, well, not most of them, a lot of them are carnivores. So make sure you're checking with your parents before you watch the live stream. But it's very, very cool. But whatever could happen, could happen. So we'll post that. Is everybody back? We ready to go? I'll tell you some more things about South Africa while we're working. Right now, I'm going to start our story. How giraffe became so tall. If you get wiggles, remember you can snuggle your softie, or you can also color. You can make some designs. Nathan's grandma and grandpa gave this to him, and they bought it in South Africa when they were visiting a couple of years ago. But you can order it on Amazon. Long, long ago, oh, I'm sorry, the author is Andrea Florence and Claire Norden. I think Claire is the illustrator, the person who draws the pictures, right? Long, long ago in Africa, the giraffe was much the same size as the other antelope that wandered in the veld. Antelope are types of deer, right? And look at those giraffe, about the same size as an antelope or a zebra. In South Africa, they call them zebras. Except for his tawny orange patches, he looked quite like a zebra, or a kudu. A kudu is another type of antelope. That's what did they call it? Like a deer with horns. And like them, he ate the grass and plants he could find on the ground. No parking. Now, one year, the African sun was particularly fierce, and not one drop of rain fell from the sky. The earth became dry, and the plants and grass shriveled in the heat. The animals grew very hungry and had to squabble over the food that they could find. Squabble means like argue and fight and bicker. Barker. One day, Giraffe was searching for food with his best friend, the rhinoceros. Here and there, they found a dry tuft of grass to nibble on, or a bush of crunchy leaves to munch on. And being such good friends, they always shared what they could find. That is a good friend, isn't it? Sharing is caring. Harumph, moaned Rhino, chewing on a very dry twig. Soon there will be no food left. You're right, sighed Giraffe. If only we could reach the top of those acacia trees. There are plenty of green leaves up there. Acacia trees are the ones that we tend to think of when we think of trees in Africa. They're kind of a very common tree there, particularly South Africa, but we think of them on the whole continent. I've got an idea, blurted Rhino proudly. Let's visit the magic medicine man in the village. He'll help us reach these juicy green leaves. I'm sure of it. What a brilliant idea, my old friend, praised Giraffe. And off they set immediately toward the setting sun in the direction of the magic medicine man's village. Magic medicine man in the village is like a doctor, or sometimes a pastor or priest, all combined together. Trudging along the dusty trail, the two friends noticed a grasshopper leaping from rock to rock. Do you see how high he leaps? Whispered Giraffe. If we could leap so high, we would reach the top of the acacia trees with no trouble at all. Rhino snorted with laughter. Indeed we could, but what a funny sight we would be. Giraffe laughed too, and off they went. Could you imagine that little giraffe and Rhino hopping along like a grasshopper? Not long after, they came across a troop of monkeys swinging high in the treetops with the help of their long tails. Pondered Rhino. Now, if we had tails like those monkeys, swinging to the tops of the acacia trees would be no trouble at all. Look at those long tails on them. It's pretty silly. Now this time, Giraffe roared with laughter at the thought, and soon the two friends were on their way again, giggling as they walked. Into the night they traveled, the full moon lighting the long path to the village of the magic medicine man. Further along the way, Clark, no bark, good boy. Further along the way, a big night owl swooped in front of them before landing high on the bough of a tree. Giraffe and Rhino looked at each other. Wings, they said, as they said simultaneously at the same time. And then they both collapsed with raucous laughter at the thought. Oh my gosh, look at them with their wings. As dawn broke the African sky, the two animals reached the hut of the magic medicine man. He listened to their story, and after a moment's thought, he told the animals to return to him at midday. Hungry after the long journey, the two friends decided to go in different directions in search of food, promising to call the other if they found some. Not far off the path, Rhino came across a patch of sweet, juicy grass. He couldn't believe his luck. He began to munch away, quite forgetting to call his friend to share it with him. Munch, munch, munch. There he is in that nice grass. Giraffe was not so lucky to find food, and at midday he walked wearily back to the village. There the magic medicine man had prepared a magical mixture of leaves and roots. Once you've eaten this, you will be able to reach the tallest acacia trees, said the kind magic medicine man. Then he and Giraffe waited for Rhino to arrive. After a long while, the magic medicine man said, "The magic will not work much longer. Rhino is late. You will have to eat this all by yourself." And so Giraffe began to munch. And as he did, the strangest thing happened. He felt a tingling in his legs and a stretching in his neck. And as he stood chewing on the magic mixture, his legs grew taller and taller, and his neck grew longer and longer until he stood towering above the magic medicine man in his little hut. "Yahoo!" shouted Giraffe with joy. Thank you, thank you. Now I'll have plenty to eat." Just then, Rhino came strolling along, his tummy full from all the delicious grass he had greedily eaten by himself. When he realized there was no more magic mixture for him, he became very angry and chased after the magic medicine man as far as he could. To this day, the giraffes are the tallest animals in the world, able to reach the highest branches for their food. And do you know what they love to eat? Acacia leaves. Due to Rhino's jealousy, he is no longer friends with Giraffe. And when Rhino sees man, he's likely to chase after him as far as he can. That's true. Rhinos love to chase people. They do not like humans. And off they go. Remember their wings? That's the story of how Giraffe got his long neck and his long legs, and why Rhino became so mean to man, according to this folktale. You think it really happened like that? Pretty interesting to think about. So should we make our giraffe? I'm ready. All right, we are going to use one sheet of paper today because we're going to practice something that's very, very important for the entire world, but something that people are very, very concerned about in South Africa, which is conservation. Conservation is about lots of different ways to protect the earth, right? And one of those ways we can protect the earth is by reducing waste. So we are going to practice making our giraffes. There's my giraffe with his short legs and neck, and Nathan's giraffe with his long legs and neck. And this is all the scrap I have left. So we're going to do it with one piece of paper, practice our conservation, right? Okay, so we need one piece of paper. Oh, here's Nathan's scraps for his orange giraffe. So we can do it. Let's do it. We need one piece of paper. You can use white paper. You can use construction paper or colored paper. It's going to be easier to use either white paper or construction paper instead of like the thicker cardboard kind of paper, because that's going to be a little bit hard to fold if you choose to fold it. And a regular like printer paper size is a good choice. All right. It's called 8.5 by 11 if you know what that is. Kind of use at school. So the first thing we're going to do, you know, remember I like to not do a lot of measuring and stuff for our age. I like to just kind of figure it out in maybe a little bit easier and quicker ways. So the first thing we're going to do is make some folds. The whole purpose of the folds is to tell us where to cut our paper first. All right, so I put this down here, maybe you can see. I'm going to fold, I don't know, maybe about an inch on my paper here, about that much. You don't want to get too wide because then you won't have any paper left to make your body and your head at the end. And we're trying to use one piece of paper, right, for our conservation. But you also don't want to get too thin because then your legs and your neck will be too thin, right? So about this much. And then unlike the folding we did last week, we're just going to keep folding and folding and folding. You can line up your edges here to help make sure that you've got some straight lines. If they're not perfectly straight, that's no problem. I think we need to fold 5 times. So it's almost like I'm rolling it up. Yeah, and then smooth it out. Let's see how many folds we need to make. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to make 5 folds. Okay. All right. Take your time. I know I'm a fast folder. But when I've got it opened up, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little sections, and then a big one. Okay, so keep folding. Take your time. Nathan and his babysitter are playing out front today instead of at the park, and Clarky's very unhappy about it. That's why he keeps growling and barking. He wants to go out and play too. All right, if you're still folding, keep folding. If you are done folding, we're going to carefully take your scissors, fold them nicely, right? And we're just going to cut on all of your folds. So we'll end up with 5 thin pieces and 1 little bit bigger piece. Yes? All right. So fold and cut. We want to get 5 thin strips. Okay. So, some things about South Africa. One cool thing about South Africa is that it is winter time there right now. And they get pretty cold. But it's pretty interesting because a lot of the houses are not built like the houses here. So even though it might get cold enough to snow, the houses are built a little bit different. So it's sometimes very cold even inside there. So because South Africa is in the southern hemisphere, like I say, their seasons are opposite. So winter there right now. They also have a rainy season where they get tons and tons and tons and tons of rain. And then they have a dry season, and there can be some pretty bad droughts, which can cause problems with animals being able to find water and having to travel far, far distances. So can you imagine what happens when an group of animals' water source dries up? And there's somebody built a city in the path of their way to the next water source. It's really a problem, right? So that's one of the reasons that conservation is so important. We need to be paying attention to wildlife and where we're blocking their paths to water and where we're taking away the places where they live and have their babies and eat and things like that. We also have to be careful not to pollute their water sources. All right, so keep cutting. I'm done cutting. So if you want to take a peek, I've got 1 kind of bigger piece and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strips. Something else kind of cool about South Africa is that they have 11 official languages in South Africa, including Zulu and Xhosa, I think is how you pronounce it, Afrikaans, English. Those are 4 of the 11 official languages. And you know what else? They have 3 capitals in their country. The capital of the United States is Washington, D.C. We just have 1, right? The capitals of South Africa are, I'm going to have to remember Johannesburg, Joburg, Cape Town, and I think it's Bloemfontein. I'm not very good at my Afrikaans pronunciations. Now, South Africa was colonized by other countries first. So there's also a confusing history with some conflict that's pretty challenging for a lot of people. All right, how are we doing with our cutting and our paper here? I'll give you another couple minutes to finish up, get your 5 strips, and then I'll move on to the next thing. Even though South Africa is pretty far away, it's only 7 hours ahead. So it's 10:30 in the morning here, but there it's 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5:30 there. So supper time, dinner time. I'm talking to the kids. Do you want to say hi? Say hi. Okay. You can't see them, but they can see you. All right, go play. Later. I'll get it for you in a little bit. All right.
Right. And Mom, can I play some video games?
Not right now.
But maybe in a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Strips and a big piece. I'm going to move on. If you are not ready yet, that's okay. Keep going at your speed. I'll move us on for those who are ready. So to make our legs and our neck, we're going to use this fan folding thing that I did last week. Hold on one second. You need to calm down. We can't go on. See if that helps Cookie not bark. It can be startling for us, right? We're going to do this fan folding thing that we did last week. So I think the easiest way to and quickest way to go about it is to stack all of your strips up. You've got 5 strips, right? If you don't want to fold, if you don't want to fan fold, that's okay. You can leave your strips exactly like this. I'll show you how to glue them in just a second, okay? If you do want to fold so that you can take my paper clips off so that you can make the neck grow like it does in the story, then let's fold it, okay? So we'll do some more cutting in just a second here. You're just gonna fold back, fold down a little bit. Remember that? All 5 pieces at once or one at a time. It'll just take longer if you do one at a time. And then we're gonna flip it, all 5 pieces, and fold it back about the same amount. So if I open it, it starts to look like this now. Okay? And then I'm gonna flip it and fold it again. And flip it and fold it again. I realize I'm flipping it 2 different ways. You can flip it back and forth this way, or you can flip it back and forth this way. It doesn't matter. And flip it and fold all the way down. You just want to press down each time, right? Like my fingers feel a little sore from squeezing those folds down. All right, so I've got the whole thing folded up. Okay, so you can take a minute to keep folding. If you don't want to fold, hang out for a second. I forgot to tell you, we're going to build our whole giraffe today, and then we'll decorate it after it's built. Because I know some people really like to take a nice long time to decorate them, which is longer than we have on our meet time together. So I'll lead you through the building, and then you can take as much time as you want to decorate it. We'll start it here together, but then you can keep working on it through the day or a different day. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 folded strips. All right. Once you've got those together, we can set them aside. So if you're ready to move on, I'll show you what's next. If you're still cutting or folding, take your time and keep doing that. We're going to go back to our big piece of paper. To help get our proportions right? So like to make sure our head isn't the same size as our body kind of thing and all of that. An easy way to do it, easy way to do our proportions is to draw your head this way. We're going to draw an oval this way. And we're going to draw another oval this way for your body. All right? So your head is going to go this way. And your body oval is going to go this way. I'm going to draw mine with a pencil first, and then I'm going to cut them so that if you don't really quite like the shape of your oval, you can redo it. Does your oval need to be perfect? No, no giraffe has a perfectly oval body. Giraffes actually don't have oval bodies at all. That's just how we're going to make our craft today. So if your oval has some lumps and bumps and, you know, pointy parts, Nathan's got a pointy part on his oval. See, that's okay. Make sure giraffe more realistic. All right, so I'm going to draw my oval for my head, my oval for my body. Can I see them on there? Or you can just cut them out without even drawing them. Once you have your shapes, let's cut them out. I didn't bring a song for us today, but I have some amazing South African music. If you like different kinds of music and music from other parts of the world, you can find lots of free songs. You might ask your parents to help you, or older brothers and sisters. Lots of free songs online. And oh, such amazing dancing. You know, I love dancing. When we were in South Africa, it was for a month at, my family celebrates Christmas. So it was Christmas time here, Christmas time everywhere, but Christmas time. So winter here, right? And we started in Cape Town, which is in the very southern part. Here's the country of South Africa, right? Cape Town is like right here. See the little dot? So we started there and it was like not super duper hot. It was like, I don't know, 70s. So definitely hot for, you know, wintertime here in Chicago. And then we went to Durban and it was like in the 60s and rainy. So it was so cold. And the family that we were staying with, they didn't have heat in their house. So it was so cold inside. And then we went north by Johannesburg to a big national park called Kruger National Park. And it was very, 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 very hot, all in the same month. So different parts of the country have very different geographic, different, what do you call that? Different regions, like different weather regions, and they look very, very different kinds of plants and all of that from place to place. Some parts of the country are like desert, some are rainforesty, some are foresty, like here in the Midwest. Some are savanna, where we think of the grasses, where the lions like to be and all that. Okay, so hopefully we are getting close to having 5 folded strips or 5 flat strips, 1 big oval, and then a smaller oval. All right, let's do a couple more things before we start gluing. First of all, I'm going to find a nice straight edge. Yeah, and I'm going to cut a little strip here to make my tail. So I'm just going to cut as straight as I can along here. See that? As long as I feel like it. Make a little tail. Giraffes don't have hugely long tails, right? It's not a real picture of a giraffe, but you see how his tail just hangs down a little bit? See if I can find a picture of a real giraffe for us to look at. Oh, they do have cheetahs in South Africa too. Cheetahs and leopards. Where's my giraffe? Oh, we can't really see any of their tails. No tails to be seen, are there? All right. All right, so we've got our little strip. We're going to fan fold that strip if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Remember, fold it, flip it and fold it again, flip it, fold it again, flip it, fold it again. Because I've been doing this for a long time, I'm able to just kind of hold it and do it. It helps that this one is so small too, right? All right, so we've got a fan folded tail or a little strip tail. Cute. And the very last thing we need to cut, look how I'm doing with my single piece of paper. I love it. The very last thing we need to do is to cut 2 smaller ovals for ears. If you want to, you can also cut these little nubbins. I don't remember what they're called. I'm going to worry about the ears, okay? So remember how to make 2 shapes the exact same size. Fold your paper and then cut the shape into that folded piece of paper. So I'm doing an oval, kind of. I did it flat on one side. And I open it up and cut it in half, and I've got 2 ears. Now, if you end up making your ears too big or too small, that's okay. Find another scrap part and recut them. No worries. All right, I give you a minute, and then we'll start to glue everything together. We'll spend a couple minutes decorating, and then we're going to grow like a giraffe. Grow our legs and our necks and go find some leaves to munch on. So there are 5 animals that you really want to look for when you go on safari. I think anywhere in Africa, but particularly South Africa. You really want to look for these 5. They're called the Big 5. So if you choose to do the live safaris, you want to look for your Big 5, right? Your Big 5, according to my game book, are going to be leopards, African buffalo, these guys, if you can see that. They're amazing. White rhinos, which are going extinct because people are hurting them. So we need to be careful about that, watch out for that. The African savanna elephant, the ones with the big ears. The ones with the smaller ears are called Asian elephants. And the lions. You know, lions sleep a lot during the day. And then at night, the female lions, the girl lions, go hunting. And they catch food for everybody. They don't eat every day. They eat every 2 to 3, maybe 4 days. But they catch food for everybody. And then they take turns eating. They have like a rule about who gets to eat first. And then in the morning, they roar and roar and roar. It's the most amazing and also terrifying sound to hear the lions roaring in the morning to wake you up. One morning we got up super duper early and we went on a walking safari. And we saw a zebra and buffalo, the water buffalo. And we did not see any lions, which I was relieved about. I don't know if I would feel comfortable seeing lions if I was just walking around. Lots of different birds and antelope, kudu, and things like that. Okay, so we have strips, we have a tail, we have some ears, we have a head, we have a body. Let's glue them together. I'm gonna put my thing down here so you can see a little bit better maybe. All right, glue stick, or you can use drippy glue. If you're using drippy glue, just use like one little dot. You don't need a whole lot, okay? It'll take too long to dry and it will just be frustrating. So I'm gonna glue 2 of my legs on here at the bottom because, you know, legs aren't at the top of our bodies. Legs are at the bottom of a giraffe's body. So I'm gonna put a little spot of glue, little spot of glue, and glue on my legs, 2 of my legs. All right. Then I'm gonna flip it over and put on 2 more legs. I'm not gonna put them exactly over top of my other side legs because, you know, hard to see that way. I'm gonna put my glue just a little bit off and glue my legs in a little bit different position so I can see all 4 legs. All right, yes, got 4 legs on there. If you don't have 4 legs yet, that's okay. Take your time and get them on there. 2 on one side and 2 legs on the other side. Beautiful. All right, so pick a side. I don't know that it matters which side. Let's do our tail next. So I'm going to put the tail on the back, you know, where tails go. And giraffe tails don't really stick out up. That would be more like a pigtail, right? They do stand their tails out like this when they're being aggressive or when they're afraid. They don't go straight up like a cat, right? No, that would just be silly. I've never seen a giraffe tail do that. Giraffe tails kind of hang down. They're more like this. Yeah. And then we're going to do our neck. So put your neck on. Little glue spot, just like we did with our legs. Got glue on my table. Oh my goodness. And then at the top of your neck, you know what goes on next. Your head, right? Let's get your giraffe head on there. Now, same thing as the tail. We need to think about how to place this, right? If you put the head on right in the middle, I gotta hold it up. It doesn't quite look right, does it? Even though this is a drawing, you can see that the neck kind of goes like up the back of the head. So if we put our neck toward the end of one of our ovals, it'll make more sense. Okay, we have a giraffe going on. Put on some ears. And if you decided to do the little nubbin things, let's do those too. I'm going to put one ear on one side of my head and another ear on the other side of my head. Again, not really on top of each other, kind of side by side. Oh, kind of side by side, right? Beautiful. Now, if you want to, and if you have them, you can use paper clips to make your neck short, like the story, right? Before Giraffe got the magic to make his neck grow long. And you can use paper clips to shorten your legs and all of that if you want to. You don't have to. Nathan decided, he chose not to. He chose to just keep his long, and he liked how long his giraffe was. See if I can get the whole thing in there. He also chose not to do a tail, by the way. I chose to put paper clips on my legs, but I took them off my neck. So however you want to do it. If you are still gluing, great, keep doing that. If you are done gluing and you'd like to draw and decorate on your giraffe, let's take a couple minutes to do that. Only like 3 minutes. So, you can take lots of time later to decorate however you want to. And maybe you're still folding and gluing and cutting, and that's okay. You can decorate later. What are some things we could decorate on our giraffe? We could kind of make it look like a real giraffe and put an eye and a nose and maybe a little bit of his mouth. Could put some spots, right? You could draw them or paint them. If you want to get really fancy, you could cut them out of other scraps of paper. See how they're not circles? They're all different shapes, and the shapes kind of work together. Yeah. No, giraffe spots are like human fingerprints. No, there are no two exactly the same. So however you draw your spots or whatever you put on your giraffe is just right, because there's no other giraffe that's going to look like yours. You could also get fancy and put things like wings or a long monkey tail or rainbows or a unicorn horn or anything you want to on your giraffe. You could decorate it however you want. You don't have to make it have spots like a live giraffe. So take just another minute or two to decorate your giraffe or finish gluing whatever you're on. I'm wondering if you have a name for your giraffe. I think I might call this blue giraffe Bluebell. Oh, Clarky. He sounds so mean, doesn't he? He's actually not mean. He sounds mean. Oh. All right, so we have 5 minutes left to be our giraffe, grow our giraffe. So wherever you are, we're going to put it aside and know that you can come back to it later today. You can come back to it tomorrow. We're going to click our glue cap lids on. Going to click your marker lids on. Put your things all aside. Let's go see what it's like to be a giraffe and walk around with those long, long legs and that long, long neck. Okay. Oh, there's Clarky. Let's see if he'll scooch out of my way. All right, Clarker. Good boy. Okay. I think you can see part of me. Let me fix it a little bit. We're going to start as a little bitty giraffe. So come all the way down, little bitty legs, little bitty neck. Oh, Clarky doing a big stretch. Thank you. All right, little giraffes. We're gonna grow your legs. Stretch. And if you can, go way up on your chippies. Yeah, way up there. And then we're gonna grow neck all the way up. Can you see my neck growing? And I'm gonna make a little giraffe mouth. Make a little giraffe mouth all the way at the top, okay? So are you ready? We're gonna grow as tall as you can with your legs and as tall as you can with your arms. And with your little giraffe mouth, we can walk around and see if you can find some tall leaves to eat. Yes, walk around and find some tall leaves. All around, find tall leaves. Can you reach all the way to the ceiling? Oh my goodness, I can reach the top of my doorway. What else can you reach? Eat those leaves. Tips. All the way up and around. So later today, or maybe now if your parents say it's okay, later today you can go outside and stretch your long legs and your long neck and see how high you can reach. See what leaves you can reach. Don't really pick them off the plants unless your family says that's okay. But just see what you can reach. Imagine you've got that long legs and long neck to chomp, munch those leaves like the giraffe does in the story. So we talked about which country today? South Africa, which is on which continent? African continent. We talked about the folk story, how giraffe became so tall. And we made our giraffes that can stretch our arms, our legs and neck. Yes. And then we also stretched our bodies. I wonder what it would look like to be that tall. Also remember we talked about waste, right, and conservation. This is how much paper I had left from our craft today. And you know what? I'm actually going to save it because there are some pretty good pieces left here that I could use to make eyes or ears or all kinds of things. So I keep my scraps rather than throwing them away so that we can practice being thoughtful about the environment and conservation, which is very, very important, but a very, very big topic in South Africa. Taking care of the animals and their environment too. If you have any questions, you can chat them. If you have any pictures, we'd love to see them. If you have videos you want to send, if you walking around chomping some leaves with your long legs and long neck, I'd love to see those too. And I hope to see you next Tuesday, but you'll probably see other teachers later in the week, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Miss Laura. This was so fun. This was so fun today. I put my email in the chat window. If you or a grown-up wants to take some pictures of what you made today, we would love to see it. You can send it to me through email. I might see some of you this afternoon with Wes, or later this week for other camp days, or maybe next week with Laura. But in the meantime, have a wonderful day. Ridgeville hug to you. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye, everybody.